Hello everyone and welcome back. It's Gina and today I'm back with project number 3 from the cherry coated designers picks that I put together with Eureka crystal beads. Be sure to check out their video that they posted on Monday with all the details and more information about the projects and the materials. I will link that in the corner, and also I will have that down below in the description section. And they also have a special page on their website that lists all of the materials included in these designers picks if you want to check that out. Today we're going to be making the Cherry Crush beaded necklace. That one includes some of these materials that you see here, some of the 4mm fire polish, the mini GemDuos, the 15-0 seed beads, the Czech Teacup beads, the 8-0 hex beads, and also the 3mm little quartz beads that look like bright pops of cherry. In addition to that, I've got a couple wire guards I'm going to be using today, and we're going to be making about 11 inches of beadwork, and you can add on some chain directly to either side of that of your choosing to make the necklace as long as you like. So in addition to that, just a lobster clasp is what I'll be using today. You can use a clasp of your choice and a couple of jump rings. And we'll be beading this using the 6-pound Fireline and a size 11 beading needle. You can use anything comparable to that beading thread. If you're going to be making this along with me today, you can go ahead and gather up your materials, string on a comfortable length of thread to your needle, and we will jump into this tutorial. Okay, to get started, we're just going to be working with 3 different types of our beads. I've got our mini GemDuos, the fire polish, and our teacup beads. And what we want to do first is sew through a teacup bead, then a fire polish, and then another teacup. And the way we're stringing these teacup beads on is just like this, so we're framing that fire polish bead. Once you've got those 3 beads on, you can go ahead and start pulling those down towards your tail thread. You're welcome to use a stop bead if you'd like to. I'm just going to leave about 6 inches there that I can use later on and weave that back in. And as we go, this will start to tighten up enough to where we won't really need a stop bead. Right now, we've got those 3 on. And I'm going to take one of the mini GemDuos and sew up through the right hand hole. That's with the bead facing up. I'm going to pull that down to the other beads and then pick up another sequence of the teacup bead and then a fire polish and then another teacup bead. Just like we did before, where it's framing the fire polish bead like that. And then I'm going to sew up through the right hand hole of another mini GemDuo. And we can just string all those down in a line. You should have something like this. And I'm going to hold my tail thread portion with my thumb and forefinger and swing my working thread, my needle, around. And I'm going to sew through that first teacup bead again, the fire polish, and the teacup bead, just to start forming this into a loop. And you can see when we pull on our working thread and our tail thread, we have got something that looks like this. Now we're going to sew down through that mini GemDuo and then sew up through the right hand side through the open hole of that same mini GemDuo, just like this. We're going to actually continue this type of sequence all the way down our beadwork, and we can go ahead and use all of the 4mm fire polish that came on the strand, and that's going to take us to about 24 segments of these little teacup bead units. So let's do another one together. Teacup bead, fire polish, and a teacup. String that down. Go through another mini GemDuo up through the right hand side. And then another teacup, fire polish, and teacup bead, just like that. Stringing those down. And then you can return up through the right-hand side of that mini GemDuo bead where we started that new unit, pull that tight, and then continue by sewing through the teacup, fire polish, teacup, down through the next GemDuo. Again, pull tight, that's really important as you go after each step. And then we're going to sew up through the right-hand side of the same mini GemDuo. So again, keep doing that until you run out of the fire polish beads, or you want to do 24 units, or if you want to make this shorter, just use less and create less units. Let's do one more of these together before we move on to the next step. All right, so that's 3 units. Again, just keep going, make your whole length of beadwork just like this. And once we get to the other side of that, that's where we'll meet back and continue on. And before that, we can add a needle to our tail thread and add on a wire guard if you'll be using those like me to add that connection spot on either side of your beadwork. So I'm just adding on a needle right there. And like I said, I left about 6 inches, which is just about enough to add one of those on and not have too much excess. I'm gonna go back through that mini GemDuo, and I want to be coming out of the set of holes there at the opposite side. And our wire guard's gonna wrap right around that little pinched end. So I'm gonna pick up that wire guard, bring it to the beadwork, and sew around through the other side of that and back around the GemDuo bead. So it's gonna sit like that. And we can go around this a couple more times to reinforce that section. Making sure your thread stays in the groove of that wire guard. And I'm gonna go around my 3rd time. And if you don't want to use wire guards or don't have them, don't want to get them, you can use a small loop of seed beads to complete a little loop around the side as a connection spot. That is totally fine. So I was coming out of that GemDuo there, the closest hole, and now I'm just wrapping around through the next hole, and all I'm doing is making a couple of half-hitch knots just so I can go ahead and trim off my excess tail thread before we move on. So I'm going to make another one right here, going under the thread bridge, making a little knot, and then just going around that next mini GemDuo, going through a few more beads. Make one more knot right here. And I'm going to go through that mini and come out of that little teacup bead right there and trim off the excess. So this is where we're going to keep going though with our working thread and make the length of our beaded necklace. Again, I'm going to go until I've got 24 of these teacup bead units. And at that point, we're going to meet back and I'll show you what to do next. All right, welcome back. We have all 24 of our little clusters on here on this chain. And I'm coming out of the GemDuo on the other side now. So what we want to do is go ahead and attach our wire guard at that point, coming up out of the hole right here of this GemDuo, and I'm going to go through the wire guard, bringing that down to the bead, sewing around the wire guard, and holding that in place while I do it, sewing around the same GemDuo bead, going around the same hole. And like we did before, we'll reinforce this wire guard by going around several times. Going around that the third time. And then I'm going back up the GemDuo bead. We're going to start working in the other direction now. And I've pulled out some of my 15 seed beads and those hex beads. And we're still going to be working with some of our mini GemDuos. So right now I'm going to go down through that next hole of my GemDuo. And right here, I want to pick up 3 15-0s, a hex bead, and 3 15-0s. Once you have those on, you can pull those down a little bit. And we're going to be crossing some of those beads right over our teacup cluster. And I'm going to go down through the next mini GemDuo, the hole that's closest to the teacup beads that we are crossing over. And it's okay if those are sort of loosely in place for now. We are going to be crossing back through those one more time, but we do want to get those in place and do pull those tight after each addition. And then once you're coming out, down out of the bottom of the right hand side of the mini GemDuo here, you're going to pick up a 15-0. You're going to go up through the right hand side of a new GemDuo bead and pick up another 15-0. So you're going to have that on your needle and then go up through the left side of that GemDuo we were coming out of. Just like that. So now we're going to keep kind of repeating the same thing all the way down the length of our necklace now. We're going to pick up 3 of our 15-0s, a hex bead, and 3 15-0s. We're going to be sewing across and just going through that next mini GemDuo bead, pulling these seed beads over top of that next teacup cluster. and pull that tight. So you have something that looks like this. And now that we're coming down out of this mini GemDuo again, we're going to pick up a 15-0, a new GemDuo going through the right-hand side, and a 15-0. Once again, swinging up through the left side of that GemDuo bead. So we're just getting those in place, and as we come around going in the other direction, we're going to be adding on some more beads and getting these in place a little bit tighter. So let's do one more together. I'm coming up out of this GemDuo on the left. We're going to pick up 3 15-0s, a hex bead, and 3 15-0s. And then I'm just going to sew down through that next GemDuo. And as I pull the beads, I'm going to make sure the seed beads are sitting on top of those other beads in place. Right here, I'll pick up a 15-0, a new GemDuo, and a 15-0. And I'm going to sew up through the left side of this GemDuo. So that's 3 of them in place, and just keep doing that same thing all the way down till you get to the other side of your beadwork, and at that point we'll meet back and I'll show you what to do next. All right, so I made it to the other side of the necklace again, and I'm coming down out of this GemDuo bead here. I've got all those other beads in place we were working on, and we're gonna go one final time in the other direction, this time finishing up with our 15-0s and some of those little quartz beads. And also I do need to pull in a few of these hex beads, which are going to sit at the bottom. So what we want to do now with our needle coming down out of this GemDuo, we're going to be crossing through that hex bead here. We want to pick up 3 of our 15-0s and then just sew directly through that next hex bead that we get to. And make sure you pull that tight. Pick up 3 new 15-0s. And then this time sew up through that next GemDuo bead, sewing up through the left-hand hole. And once you get those beads in place, you can see that creates a little bit of a crisscross with those seed beads going across the teacup cluster. Then once we're coming up out of that mini GemDuo, we can pick up one of our quartz beads and sew down through the right-hand hole of the same GemDuo. We'll be going around that quartz bead again, but right now just get it in place as tight as you can. And we can proceed through the next 15-0, going toward the left, and then sew through the top of the GemDuo that is currently hanging down in that section. Once we're coming out of that bead, we're going to pick up 3 of our 15-0s, and we're going to sew through the open hole of that same GemDuo bead. Now pick up 3 more 15-0s and sew through the top of that GemDuo again. So we just wrapped around 3 seed beads on either side. Now sew down through the 3 seed beads. Just gonna go a few at a time as it'll let me. Got through 1, I'm gonna go down through those next 2, heading down towards the bottom of that GemDuo. And once down there, we're gonna pick up 2 15-0s, a hex bead, and a 15-0. Just go ahead and pull those down. And we're going to return up through the hex bead, skipping that last 15-0 that we added, which is going to help our hex bead sit vertically underneath the GemDuo section. And then we'll pick up 2 of our 15-0s and sew up through the next 3 15-0s on the right hand side, just like that. And now we're going to sew left through the top of that GemDuo again, pulling everything tight, and we can sew up through that 15-0 and the left side of the next GemDuo, heading towards that quartz bead. We can go through the quartz bead again, and then return down through the right hand side of the GemDuo and pull tight. So that's something we're going to repeat now all the way down to the other side of our necklace. And with my needle coming down out of that GemDuo bead, we're in the spot that we want to be in to do that next little crisscross section over the teacup cluster, picking up 3 of our 15-0s, sewing through the hex bead only, pulling tight, picking up 3 new 15-0s again, sewing up through the next GemDuo bead, once again pulling tight, pick up a new quartz bead. It's going to sit on top of that GemDuo we're coming out of. Sew down through the right hand side of that, pull it in place, and then sew down through the 15-0 and head left through the top of the GemDuo that's hanging down. And this is where we're going to pick up 3 new 15-0s. Sew down through the bottom hole of the GemDuo. Pick up 3 more 15-0s. Sew through the top of the GemDuo again. Pull that tight. You can see we've wrapped our seed beads around that GemDuo. And we're going to sew down through the 3 seed beads on the left hand side, going towards the bottom of it. And this is where we'll pick up 2 new 15-0s, a hex bead, and a 15-0. We're going to pull these down. We're going to skip that last 15-0 and just sew through the hex bead. Holding that with my fingers, I'm just going to pull the working thread and pull that tight up to those other seed beads. Then pick up 2 new 15-0s and sew up through the 3 15s on the right side of the GemDuo, holding that together and pulling tight. Sewing left through the top of that GemDuo, and then up through the 15-0 and up through the GemDuo on the left hand side, and then going through that quartz bead again and down through the right hand side of the GemDuo below it, putting us in place to continue on with the same step all the way down the length of our necklace. So if you need to right now, you can back up the video and refresh your memory on those steps, because it was a few things in sequence that you need to do specifically, especially to get your needle coming out of the right spot. And just keep doing that all the way down the entire length. And at that point, we'll meet back and we will finish up this necklace. All right, everyone, so if you've made it this far, you have made it to the end of the beadwork, and all you need to do at this point is weave in your tail thread, make a few half-hitch knots, hide the knots, and trim off your working thread. And then you're left with this segment of beadwork, and you have your wire guards in place, ready to go to add a jump ring and a segment of chain and finish off your necklace that way, if that's how you are doing it, like the example. Also, the beadwork is about 11 inches long, so for example, if you wanted an 18-inch necklace, just do a little bit of math. That's 7 inches extra you'd need, and just divide that up by each side. You'd need about 3.5 inches extra for chain on either side, and that'll get you an 18-inch necklace. So just make the rest of it as long as you'd like, as long as you're happy with, and you're all set. So thank you all so much for joining me today for this third cherry coated project. It was so much fun to have you all hanging out and beading with me as usual. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, please be sure to leave me a comment, especially if you gave this a try, and feel free to share a photo and tag me on social media. I love to see what you guys have made from these tutorials. That is all for now though. Thanks again for joining me. I hope to see you all again real soon. And until next time, have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.